This video is for those who need to hear this message. You are not wrong for having expectations, reasonable expectations, ones that are clearly expressed. For God's sake, stand up for yourself. Disappointment follows me. It haunts me. The disappointment of being alone, of reaching out over and over again to be left hanging. How many times will I stand up for others, only for those same people to not stand up for me? No matter, I'll never stop standing up for others, and especially standing up for myself. You are listening to The Uneducated Teacher. In a suburb of Toronto sticks out a plaza. In that plaza is a seafood establishment, an auto shop. Right next to that shop is a large facility. Its name, as stated in its signage, is the Yellow Brick House. This facility is surrounded by cameras, and a large man stands vigilant at its entrance. Strangely, its front door remains closed, and except for a handful of employees, no one enters without paperwork, and that large man escorting them inside. In that plaza, a police car stands idle and watches the comings and goings of the Yellow Brick House. The police lady watches with interest as a mother and her teenage son approach the facility. As if on cue, the security guard steps out of the facility to greet them. He pats the two down and searches their belongings before ushering them inside of the facility. The 14-year-old boy and his mother arrive at the Yellow Brick House, and the boy, named Carlos, looks around him in apprehension. He clings to his mother. She herself, a battered wife, fled from her husband and along with her son were given sanctuary in the Yellow Brick House. The boy enters behind his mother, and the bright halogen lights reflect off the soft colors of the government facility. His small hands cling to his mother's as the two are taken to their quarters. Carlos notices that there are no other boys and no men in sight. The women he passes seem terrified of him and leer at him as if he were a monster. Some openly begin crying when they see him. Some scream and run off. Others scowl at him in fury. Young Carlos has no idea what he did, and his mother, powerless to intervene, marches onward to their destination. Carlos sees a familiar face, his sister, and she runs and gives him a hug. She holds his hand and shows them their rooms. Imagine you're 14 years old and your mother fled from your father. You and your little sister seek help, and you find yourself here in the Yellow Brick House. To your sister and mother, it feels like home, but to you, it feels like a prison. You stick out noticeably because you're the only male that lives here. Every single other person, all 20 of them, are women and girls, and they are terrified of you. They hate you. You can see it in their eyes. You're 14 years old and treated like a grown man. You're responsible for every wrong here in this woman's shelter. The women look to you as if you are evil incarnate. You see the hatred in their eyes. You see the unfiltered terror. And some that walk aimlessly in the Yellow Brick House, some walk aimlessly in the Yellow Brick House, the home of pain, the home of human misery. Our 14-year-old protagonist, Carlos, is persona non grata at home, and even here, his new home. Imagine his suffering, his confusion. Already abandoned by his father, an orphan by all means, and now tasked with being a man his sister and mother can rely upon. Yet they are also not on his side. They have joined the collective, the female collective, and in their desperate need for acceptance, need for shelter, they turned on him. He is alone in this woman's shelter, where he is to be blamed for everything in this world. He is strong and in control. They have no agency against him, and though he is innocent, he is not allowed to be innocent. Someone has to pay for their plight, their troubles, their fears. This young man has grown up now and become a lovely, grounded young man, humble, industrious, in spite of his past. And when he told me of the story of the Yellow Brick House, where he lived years ago, it crushed me to see him relive those days. His brave eyes masking the wounded child within. He moved on since then. He is forgiven. And I guess if he could, then I suppose I can.